Good afternoon, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Monday, June the 20th. Let's start first with guns. Lots of gun stories on the news today. The United States Supreme Court this morning declined to hear an appeal of a Connecticut law in which the plaintiffs said it was unconstitutional for Connecticut to ban certain types of semi-automatic military-style assault weapons as well as large magazines. That means that law may stand, as a second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said it could. By extension, a state like Arkansas could adopt a ban on assault weapons and large magazines. Don't hold your breath on that. The U.S. Senate tonight is going to vote on 4 gun control measures. All of these were forced to a vote as a result of the slaughter in Orlando last week. These bills are not expected to pass because of Republican opposition. We'll be watching Senators Tom Cotton and John Bozeman of Arkansas to date. They haven't been willing to vote for anything that passes for gun control, no matter how minor. Perhaps there'll be a change on that tonight. And finally, one other note from the gun safety scene. A gun shop owner in Ohio was killed when a shot was fired accidentally by a student in one of his concealed carry permit classes at his gun shop, another place made somewhat less safe by guns. News today at the Arkansas Capitol, a group working to legalize the medical use of marijuana in Arkansas presented more than 100,000 signatures to the Secretary of State today. The Secretary of State's office will review and see if there are enough registered voter signatures on those petitions to qualify that measure for the ballot. There are 2 other marijuana measures pending, another medical marijuana proposal, and also one that just simply legalizes marijuana for all purposes. The deadlines to get petitions in isn't until July. A little update on the Razorback Stadium expansion plans, which we've been talking a lot about here. I wanted to give you an update from the Razorback Foundation, which said so far it's sold 5 of the big new founder suites. They're going to contribute a significant part of the private money to pay for this Razorback expansion stadium project. You have to put down $3 to $3.5 million over 5 years to get one of these new suites. They're not sure how many they're going to sell. It depends on demand. So far, 5. And also a small correction. Former members of the UA Board of Trustees, in an op-ed they wrote opposing the project, made a reference to an underground parking garage to be built for Athletic Director Jeff Long so that he wouldn't have to walk out in the open between his car and parking space in his new offices. The Razorback Foundation says they don't know where that information the trustees put out came from. It was incorrect. There were no plans for an underground parking garage in Razorback Stadium. $160 million worth of other stuff, but not a parking garage. Leslie Rutledge, our Attorney General, has sided, along with some other Republican Attorneys General, on the side of Exxon. They are trying to discourage Democratic Attorney Generals from pursuing an investigation that shows that Exxon perhaps engaged in somewhat fraudulent activities and hiring people to put out misinformation about climate change. So Leslie Rutledge, again, is on the side of dirty air, which is where she's been throughout her career so far in Arkansas. Baker Kurrus leaves as Little Rock School Superintendent at the end of this month. He's not going meekly. He's written a letter to a committee studying school organization in Pulaski County, Arkansas, that it really needs to ask more questions about the proliferation of charter schools in Pulaski County. He says they're spending millions in public dollars to create new facilities, physical facilities, if nothing else, that duplicate those that exist in the Little Rock School District, which has a number of schools that are under capacity as it now stands. He also raises a larger question that we don't know answers to often, and that is more information about the private companies that do management and provide other financial services to charter schools. They're not covered by the Freedom of Information Act. There's been corruption in this and other states. Kurrus thinks we need to know more. I think he's right about that. The Arkansas Bar Association voted last week in its convention in Hot Springs to recommend appointment of Arkansas Supreme Court justices, not election. The legislature will have to decide whether to put that on the ballot. I think it's a long shot. People like to elect their judges. And finally, what would be a day without a Huckabee? Mike Huckabee had a pretty bad presidential campaign, didn't do too well at the ballot box, got sued by a member of the band Survivor for his unauthorized use of the Eye of the Tiger song at a campaign rally with Kim Davis, the Kentucky clerk who didn't want to approve same-sex marriage licenses. Well, he had to settle that lawsuit for an undetermined amount of money. Since then, he's been paying a Washington, D.C. law firm to get the Federal Election Commission to approve his use of a legal defense fund to pay for his expenses and to pay for at least a portion of that settlement that he was forced into by the band. The FEC said last week in a letter we posted on the Arkansas blog, no dice, Mike. That's like giving a contribution to you. You're going to have to pay for your own settlement. That's not the final word. There'll be a meeting on that at the end of the month. But you know Mike Huckabee, he does not like to pick up the tab. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.